You can learn a lot about someone just by looking at their space, not the furniture, not the design, but the clutter. Because clutter isn't just physical, it's often a reflection of what's happening internally. And the strange part is, most people don't realize that connection at all. We tend to think clutter is just about being messy, or busy, or not having enough time, but research suggests something deeper. Clutter isn't random. It's often tied to stress, decision fatigue, and emotional overload. In other words, your environment starts to mirror your mental state, and over time, it feeds back into it. Think about the last time your space felt out of control. Clothes piling up, things left undone, stuff you keep needing to deal with, but don't. It's not just the mess, it's what it represents. Unfinished decisions, delayed actions, mental weight, and every time you see it, your brain registers it again. There's a reason for that. Your brain is constantly processing everything in your environment, and when there's too much visual input, it starts to struggle. Research shows that clutter competes for your attention, making it harder to focus and process information. In simple terms, your brain prefers order, but clutter creates noise, and that noise turns into cognitive overload. So now imagine living in that environment every day, not just passing through it, but existing inside it. Your brain never gets a break. Even when you're resting, you're still surrounded by reminders of things undone, which is why clutter doesn't affect productivity. It affects how you feel. Studies have found that clutter is directly linked to higher levels of cortisol, which is the body's primary stress hormone. And this isn't just a feeling, it's a measurable psychological response. In fact, people who describe their homes as cluttered tend to experience more stress, lower well being, and more negative emotions overall. So, what you're feeling in a cluttered space isn't imagined, it's biological. But here's where it gets more interesting. Clutter doesn't just come from stress, it also creates more of it. Psychologists have found that clutter can be both a symptom and a cause of anxiety and depression. So you end up in a loop. You feel overwhelmed and things pile up and you feel more overwhelmed and it continues. And then there's the emotional side, because most clutter isn't just stuff, it's tied to decisions. What if I need this later? I spent money on this. This used to matter to me. Every item becomes a question, and every question takes energy. That's the part of what creates decision fatigue. Every object in your space represents a choice. Keep it, move it, get rid of it. And when you multiply that across hundreds of items, your brain gets overwhelmed. Clutter increases mental fatigue, reduces working memory, and makes it harder to process information. So even when you're not actively thinking about it, your brain is still carrying it. Which leads to a simple realization. Clutter isn't just in your space, it's in your mind. The unfinished tasks, the delayed decisions, the emotional attachments, it all shows up physically and then reflects right back at you. This is why cleaning feels different than organizing, because when you clear your space, you're not just removing objects, you're removing noise, you're lowering stress, you're giving your brain room to breathe. Studies even show that reducing clutter can lower stress and improve mood. So next time your space feels overwhelming, don't just look at the mess. Look at what it might be representing. Because sometimes what you're holding on to physically is the same thing you're holding on to mentally. And once you start letting go in one area, the others tend to follow.